Okay. Hello, hello, hello. I'm doing this. First of all, I know I'm a few minutes late here from what I said. And second of all, I'm trying to do this thing where I go live on Instagram and my phone is over there, and then I'm live on Facebook, which is here. And so there's this, I'm like, where do I look? I'm going to look at my computer, which is going more straight to Facebook. And sorry, Instagram peeps, that means you get kind of like a side view. I think it's my better side though. So um, hopefully this works. Feels a little awkward. Okay. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Um, this is a topic that I feel pretty passionate about. I also got kind of riled up this morning about not completely unrelated, but kind of a different subject. And so you're going to get a little bit more of like a riled up me perhaps this morning. And it is morning where I sit on the west coast of Northern California. But welcome from whatever part of the world, whatever time, whatever space you might be inhabiting now. And whether you're here live or you're watching the replay, I absolutely welcome questions, comments, shares. Actually, don't know how that works on Instagram Live. Sorry. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll play with it. And I do really believe that all of these topics and conversations are a conversation. I have a lot to say. I'm a talker. But does not because I don't think that other viewpoints are valuable. I really love the way that we get to weave together. So always welcoming questions, shares, comments, curiosities, all of those pieces. The truth is that, I titled this "The Feminine in Business: Why Flow Needs Structure." The truth is that there's so many other ways that this could have been titled. And this is one of my great struggles, is like not including everything in everything. It's the feminine in life, why flow needs structure. It could be the masculine in life, why structure needs flow. Could go either way. In my world, I tend to have more people coming into my space who are like, I want to do things from the feminine. I want to run my business from the feminine. I want that side of the equation comes into my space more often. So I'm going to speak to it from that perspective. But pretty much everything, there are ways to cross it over. And what I'm really talking about here is the fundamental importance of the weave of polarities within each of us and within the world, because that's what actually creates life, right? Life is not all or nothing. It just isn't. So the thing is that humans really love to pendulate. We tend to go from this extreme to this extreme. There is a bit of an all or nothing. This is better, that's better. Just tendency in humans. You can really see it throughout history. You can see it through all kinds of topics, right? It's like this one, and then we'll be like, wait, that didn't work. Like, how about all the way over here? And the true solution, I believe, the evolution, I would call it the revolution. Actually, I believe this is like really a revolution, is integration. Is like, and I really see integration as a weave. So often people will say it's about balance. And I actually I don't really believe in balance. It's like momentary, it's very fleeting, it's delightful when it happens, but really I see it as like a weave, if you can imagine a beautiful tapestry. And that kind of integration, like where it's truly a weave, that actually is the development of the healthy and sacred masculine and feminine, both. That we cannot actually develop what I would call truly healthy or truly sacred masculine or feminine if we're not developing this weave. We'll be inherently sort of lumpy or lopsided. And so it doesn't mean that there isn't value in exploring one pole more intensively for a period of time, as long as we understand that we're doing that in order to be able to better weave, to become a more elegant and beautiful weaver. So, I mean, I'll just say right here at the outset, like, this is actually why I mean, this is the fundamental foundation for basically my perspective on everything. So it shows up in every program and container that I hold or teach or offer. And it is specifically why I created Fierce Grace. I didn't know at the beginning when it had that name, like the name really came and I was like, this is what it is. This is how I like the feeling sense of what this space is. And it was over time that I really saw, oh, it's because I created this particular container in order to truly hold the work and the learning and the expression and the exploration of polarities, right? Not polarity, the way we think about it, but to hold the polarities, the fierce and the grace. So that's what Fierce Grace really is. And I'll put a link in the comments where you can read more about it. So I would say at this point in time in history, here we are, January 2022. It's fucking weird to say that. And the truth is, even with like, you know, goddess culture and the rise of the feminine and, you know, all kinds of things, you know, we see on social media or online or in the world or, you know, whatever these ebbs and flows and these pendulations, you know, the truth is that not even just the overculture, and I'll get to this in a little bit, but even the way that it worms into our weird little subcultures, that what I would call the unhealthy masculine is, I want to say over rewarded. It's more heavily rewarded than other ways of expressing other, you know, other parts of expression. And so often what people really just say, they say like the masculine, you know, the masculine way is rewarded. And I think that's lazy. So I would specifically say it is the more young, um, there's a better word for it, like unevolved, wounded masculine that is over rewarded. That would be, you know, rigidity, power over, control, domination, like the subjugation of the body, the subjugation of emotions, the undervaluing of intuitive knowing, and more than not even just the undervaluing, but like the poo-pooing of those ways of knowing, sort of like striving and overcoming perspective. Even the idea that we want to talk about everything as like mindset or having a shift in our mindset, or if we can just shift the way like our thinking or our frame on it, that'll change everything without acknowledging the body, right? These are overvaluing the unhealthy masculine. The idea that if it can't be monetized or quantified, it's not valuable, like it's just dismissed. These are less healthy, I would say, like the more self-centered masculine qualities. And I really do believe it's important to become more nuanced in our speaking in terms of being able to say this is a healthy, or this is an unhealthy, or this is a sacred, or this is an integrated, you know, masculine or feminine expression. Because too often we just, sorry, it looks like I have something in my eye. Too often we just tend to pendulate between one is better than the other. And we'll just say like, you know, oh, everything is too masculine, or it's too, you know, it's too feminine. And really that's all in the same, that's like the same energetic. And so if we can't get more nuanced about saying healthy, unhealthy, then we just tend to villainize one or the other, which doesn't help with the weave, like I talked about. So with this, I mean, we all kind of know this at this point, right? Like there's this overvaluing of this unhealthy masculine expression, and especially in the way the world is run, like in terms of when I say overvaluing, in terms of, you know, who gets rewarded monetarily, you know, who gets put on the cover of magazines, like what, like where we see this being rewarded. And it's probably been, now it's like the last, I mean, again, there's just pendulations, but in my lifetime, especially, it's, you know, the last 10 years or so, there's this real rise of women, especially, not entirely, but, you know, who are like, okay, but well, you know, now I've sort of discovered that there is this other way, and I really want to live my life which including like my work or my business from, and they'll often say again, quote, the feminine, which again, I just have to say, I think it's lazy and it doesn't serve us. So what we really mean is I want to develop capacity in, learn to embody, and ultimately integrate the healthy and sacred feminine into my life. And then my assertion here basically is like, and let's learn how to actually embody and cultivate the healthy and sacred masculine into our life and into this weave that we can weave together. But we've gotten so far from sort of like, we just call this masculine. So then we're like, well, the better way must just be feminine. So what this has us doing is jumping from like, do it the masculine way, do it the feminine way, rather than teasing out the nuance of there is an actually, no, we want to do this from the healthy, the sacred, and the integrated masculine and feminine. And what does that actually mean? So the truth is that actually this all or nothing, this dramatic pendulation is in and of itself an unhealthy masculine perspective. So when, and again, I'm just going to say women here, although it's not only women, but when women have lived or seen modeled or had experience of like running their lives or working and doing business from an unhealthy masculine frame, and they pendulate all the way to the side of, now I want to do it all from the feminine, they're using the words about the feminine, but they're coming from a masculine perspective, an unhealthy masculine perspective. So the other thing that happens is that it often ends up being not even just, again, if we get more nuanced and specific, it's not just a pendulation from the masculine way to doing it the feminine way, but from an unhealthy masculine to an unhealthy feminine. And this is actually where I see the most, this is where exhaustion and frustration and confusion and why the fuck isn't this working? And really just a lot of wasted energy comes, because I'm just going to say women now, but it's humans. But women have worked within unhealthy masculine structures, and that is, basically the whole world at this point in time. Not the whole world, but a lot of it, and especially what's rewarded and where we get paid, and these things are important for living in the world today. We need money and houses and food and stuff, and have experienced that, have seen that, have had sort of unhealthy masculine frameworks like put on us, on all of us, not just women, on all of us. And then we'll again sort of ping pong or pendulate or want to jump. And then often what happens is going all the way into now trying to do life and business from an unhealthy feminine perspective, because, or expression, again, partly because there hasn't been taking the time to really tease apart, well, what is healthy, what is sacred, what is unhealthy, if we're just going to talk about masculine and feminine, but from any of these polarities. And because the unhealthy aspects of the polarities tend to magnetize each other, that's the other reason it happens. And so that's sort of bouncing all the way to the young, the wounded, the helpless, the confused, the overwhelmed, the flighty, the can't someone just come and do this for me woman. And I don't say any of this with any judgment. I think we all know that part in ourselves. I mean, we've all definitely seen it, but we know it in ourselves where we're maybe the whole first half of our life, or, made a lot of money a certain way, got exhausted or adrenal fatigue, or just, lost touch with our sense of connection to source or spirit. And then sort of ping pong, we're I'm going to do it all in flow and trust and intuition, and sort of found the way that everything went honky wonky and swirly, and we're and so, what is this? One of the main reasons that this is because this shift from the unhealthy masculine into what we quote call the feminine, but again, I would say is often without really taking the time to learn, to cultivate, to embody the healthy and the sacred, both masculine and feminine, is that jump is an allergic reaction rather than a choice. Oh, okay, here I am in this, in were the words I use, in this sort of rigid, controlling, dominating, avoiding or subjugating body emotion. Like I could, like, here's this realm, and I'm gonna actually, take the time or have the patience or, learn, like, then what is this weave, rather than having an allergic or like a histamine reaction to all things masculine and going like only the feminine, which again, I want to reiterate, is actually like the feminine. It's the masculine hijacking feminine language for an unhealthy masculine perspectives, which has only one way. Only this will do. This is the only good way to be. And so in that allergic reaction, there's a rejection of anything remotely feeling, appearing, masculine. And what that leads to, which my little notes so I stay on topic for all y'all. What that leads to is basically a rejection of all structure, a rejection of all goals, a rejection of all tracking, a rejection of all frameworks, only following like the whim of what, quote, feels good, but just like in the moment, right? And that's more of an unhealthy feminine reactionary response, rather than like the deep, healthy, sacred feminine that's anchored to what we are most deeply devoted to, right? And isn't swayed by the whims of like, it doesn't feel good, right? In the moment or on the surface. And one analogy that I would use for this is like a really beautiful wine, or, it could be a non-alcoholic beverage of choice, whatever you love, like that feels really luxurious, right? Like, oh, splurging on an expensive, like, wonderful bottle of wine, or an expensive, wonderful mead, or an expensive, wonderful non-alcoholic beverage of choice. And imagining like to decide that it's all going to be, the wine is the feminine, right? The wine is the feminine. And if we're only going to do things from, quote, the feminine, we just pour the wine all over the table, right? We have guests over and they all sit down and it's like so beautiful. And then we just dump it out and we're like, hey, enjoy. And that is coming from an allergic reaction to anything seeming to contain. Right. So, like the true weave of the beautiful, sacred, healthy feminine and the beautiful, healthy, sacred masculine is like the perfect wine glass for this particular wine. The ping ponging is like pour the wine out and then we're like, why didn't that work? I was trying to be in my feminine and it just made a mess. And then we're like, okay, well, I guess, it's back to the masculine for me. And the unhealthy masculine will like lock the wine in the cellar and never bring it out. And then we're like, well, this isn't fun. And then we go back to pouring it on the table, right? So that's kind of the ping pong. And then this beautiful weave is like, oh, well, what about a wine glass? And really, the healthy is the understanding. Like, I don't have enough understanding, but this particular wine, needs to be poured into this kind of a glass and then sit for this amount of time, and then this piece, and then understanding, these two things. This is why I say flow needs structure, but it would be the same the other way, right? Structure needs flow. Is like, this wine actually needs this wine glass. It doesn't, there's no beauty or like, it doesn't get to be what it is meant to be if it's never poured or if it's poured all over the table. And so the wine glass is like, oh, right, when we actually weave them together, when we bring the right weave of the healthy structure and the healthy flow together, then we have this perfect thing that we can actually offer into the world. I think probably a lot of us have experienced, the exhaustion, and we've definitely witnessed in other people, but the exhaustion, the frustration, the hopelessness, that feeling that there's either no forward momentum or no building. Like, why can't I build anything, when we're sort of, again, quote, trying to do it all from the feminine? We're just pouring our wine out. We're like, this is and it really is a waste. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. It's often, this is like one that's a little hard to say, but it's often a real waste of money because I see a lot of women who really want to do things all from the feminine spend money on something that they hope will handle all of the masculine for them. And this is not at all for me to say you have to do it all yourself or you should never outsource anything or nobody else can ever hold any structure or masculine for you. I'm not saying that at all. But when we have not cultivated our own capacity, when we actually don't have facility in that area at all, to only outsource it often becomes an enormous waste of money. And it honestly, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to see women just like outsource that kind of, like hoping someone will just do it on their own. Both in the business realm, I definitely see like, oh, they'll just take care of this for me and I don't ever have to think about it, or, oh, thank God, I just never have to do that part. Like, but I also see it, it's interesting because it can happen in the business realm, but it's like women get so frustrated and exhausted trying to do their business from the feminine that they like maybe don't want to do business at all. And they just hope that a man will show up in the romantic, intimate realm and they'll never have to work again. And I've seen women get into relationships that they're really not, either it's really not the right fit, not the right person, or create pretty unhealthy dynamics, basically out of this allergic reaction to needing to be able to embody anything masculine in themselves because the only way that they've ever experienced it before has been this rigid, controlling, unhealthy masculine. And that is not the only way. So, I mean, as I've said, is like, I call it the weave. Like the if I want to say like the solution, here's the solution. The tricky thing is, it's not really a one and done kind of a thing, right? Weaving. This is why I like the weaving analogy, actually. I mean, I could also say it's a partnership, right? It's a true partnership of certainly the masculine and feminine within ourselves, but all these polarities. It's the both and. We all know it's both and, but then we still find ourselves stuck in this largely because we live in an unhealthy masculine culture. So, doing and being and not balance, but what is the weave? Structure and flow, commitment and devotion, limitation and freedom, thinking and feeling. And really like our capacity to hold that both of all of these things can be held and felt and seen and expressed and worked with and woven together at the same time, right? This is our full blossoming as whole human beings. This is where life and creativity come from. This is what actually allows, this is what allows life to feel easy. The thing that so many women are going for when they're like, I just want it to be easier, I just want it to flow. This is actually what allows for that. It doesn't mean everything actually is easier. We never work hard again, or we never have to work with, our own structures, but it actually makes life feel easy. And so this true weave, and this is what I was saying is why I like this analogy, is that weaving actually, it's very patient. It's a patient activity. It does take time. It takes the willingness to be both in the minutia and to zoom out. It is about what creates the most beauty, and that there is no one right way, or, well, it should be a balance of these colors and these colors. It's like, no, what's the beautiful weave? And, that does take the willingness to work with complexity. I don't have my little weaving project anymore to show you, but, it had some like really natural fibers, and then it had these like tinsely fibers. And then so I think there is this beautiful business life and weave that we can create when we're willing to work with what is correct structure. Correct structure is the healthy masculine, is the wine glass. And I wish I could tell you right now, just tell you like, this is correct structure. But the truth is, it is actually different for each of us in different areas of our life at different times. And so what is truly the solution is to develop our capacity to see, to feel, to learn, to understand, and to choose correct structure for ourselves throughout our life. That is embodying the healthy masculine. and the weave with what I would call right pace and right rhythm. That's a part of the healthy feminine. And I can't tell you what is the right pace or your right pace, because each of our own right rhythm actually does shift throughout our lives, and it's different in different parts of our lives at different times in our lives. But to actually work with ourselves in developing our capacity and developing our range and exploring in these ways so that we can actually understand for ourselves in the different moments, oh, wait, what is correct structure for this time in my life, or for this project, or for this area of my life, or in this relationship? And what is right rhythm? What is right relationship to flow? What is the structure that will actually enliven this flow, not limit it or just allow it to like be wasted? So these pieces, right? The masculine, the feminine, the doing, the being, the structure, the flow, the commitment, the devotion, the limitation, the freedom, the thinking, the feeling. I mean, I could go on, right? This is where I like to say polarities, right, are greater than polarity. Like, don't get stuck in the realm of polarity. Let's weave with the polarities, because when these are integrated, when these are deeply integrated within ourselves, these polarities actually serve each other. They are not at odds with each other. They serve each other. So my final point is, I want to reiterate that actually to truly honor the feminine is never to imagine that it's all or nothing. That is always an unhealthy masculine perspective. Always, never. But honoring the feminine actually will never say only your sacred feminine perspective. And that is actually like feminine, it's the unhealthy masculine hijacking the language of the feminine. It's sort of like dominating with flow, if you will. So recognizing, in some way, it's like recognizing the sneaky ways that the unhealthy masculine wants to keep dominating, and not allowing ourselves to be trapped by that, right? Is part of what can allow for the wideness of the complexity of all of this expression, so that it can weave together in the most beautiful way, and in the way that most encourages and supports and is devoted to life, to like actual life thriving. And that will never be all one way or all or nothing. It will never be that. It will always be a weave. It will always be the light woven with the dark. It will always be, anyway, I'm actually going to pause because I could really go off on a tangent here. But I do want to say one more time that my first and foremost is, if I could just, transmit anything, it would be this piece of weaving rather than all or nothing. And that it's not about balance, right? It is about the integration. It is about the weaving. And I remember, again, like the weave of the polarities is greater than polarity, right? Like not making this into a tension point, but making it into a weave. And it reminds me of one of my teachers, Teo, like years ago. I was talking about the masculine and the feminine, and he leaned into me and he was like, "But Kendra, it's the same fucking magnet." And I was like, and that's the weave, right? That's the weave. So, my blessing, my prayer is just, may that be transmitted. May we be able to live more and more in right relationship with the weave of these polarities, and walk our own winding path in correct structure and correct flow and correct relationship between all of these polarities within ourselves. And if that's something that you really want to explore, that is why I created Fierce Grace. That is the specific container the way that I made it, the way that I hold it is to hold a very small group of women in like an intensive process of working with these polarities within themselves, within your unique life, within your unique business, or your unique offering of work into the world, within your unique relationships and expressions, and how to discover for yourself, not just what is your unique weave, like it's going to stay the same, but how do you actually get in contact with that so that you will know for the rest of your life, not so you never make a mistake, but so that you'll truly know for the rest of your life, oh, this is how I draw from these different pieces and these different polarities, because this is the weave that's called for now in this phase of my life, or in this project, or in this relationship, or in this dynamic. I want more and more and more humans, and especially women, to truly know how to walk this path. So I'll put a link in the comments that will give you more information about the Fierce Grace Incubator this year in 2022. It will begin in May. I'm taking applications now because it is a small, intimate group. It's limited to 12 women, and we're going to be together for 8 months. So, we're going to dive deep, and I think it's super fun. I don't know if it's always like fun, but it's like really, really good. So I'll put a link to the application, and then I have calls with people, and we'll really explore whether this is the right fit for you at this particular time in your life. Thank you for being here or here. Sorry, Instagram peeps, you got the side of my face. And I wish you a wonderful rest of your day or evening, wherever you are in the world. Ciao for now.